When we were doing our research, we thought it would be a good idea to get some important qualitative feedback from parents in the Bay Area. So we've surveyed more than 50 parents, have in-depth conversations uh, with them, and we decided that it would be very helpful for you guys to look at the common perspectives that they all had. So I haven't displayed all of their discussions, but I have picked the ones that were the most common or shared the most common sentiment. So let's look at some of them. When you look at Challenger, this is from actually the ex Challenger member she was the president of Challenger, so this is a very important source that we have. When they were talking about Challenger, in particular the negatives, they said on compensating for the lack of extracurriculars, Challenger offers after-school classes, but they are not led by professionals other than chess. Chess being, again, a more analytical field. I was with Challenger for many years, and my children attended too. My son only until 6th grade. I pulled him out because of the lack of sports and just saw no scope for personal and character growth. The same person on learning culture, this, by the way, is a president, so the viewpoint does hold a lot of value. On the learning culture, I have to admit that I was a true dedicated part of Challenger due to its mission until the founder, Mr. Baker, was alive. After Mrs. Baker, after her passing, the more militaristic graduates took charge, and the policies she fears were more ingrained towards the lack of compassion and warmth that slowly made her realize that it is not the place that the founder started and developed for more than 60 years. Again, these are individual perspectives, so take this with a grain of salt, right? Me personally, I don't look at it like this. I think it depends on what your student needs, your child needs. If your child would thrive in an environment where you do think he or she needs a little bit of discipline and decorum, and you think that their interests are aligned more with the STEM field, then this is perfectly fine, right? They can handle the high academic workload, and you already know they're fine in the other departments. So this is subjective, but it is a common perspective that some parents have told us. But on the same side of the coin, others have said differently. I have not mentioned the name of this parent. They prefer to maintain anonymity, but they are a parent that moved from India during middle school, and they have an engineering background, just so I can share the kind of background we're dealing with and the kind of parents that we're surveying. On compensating for the lack of extracurriculars, this is a parent that preferred Challenger. So my daughter studied at Challenger Sunnyvale from 6th grade to 8th grade, and we chose Challenger over Stratford, even though 100% of the people we spoke to prior to the choice said they preferred Stratford. The main reason was the vibe during the school tour. At Stratford, we felt the focus was more on overall development versus any focused aspect of studies. They talked more about the art facilities than studying. We were not impressed, probably because we had just moved from India, from a very academics-oriented school, and we never regretted our decision. This is important. That goes to show it is all about perspective. If you think this is the right environment for you, then nobody can tell you otherwise, right? Me personally, I feel this way as well. A little bit of decorum doesn't do any harm, but other parents have echoed this sort of sentiment. So you can see most parents have complained about the workload and the stress levels, but some parents think that this is the one that is right for their kids. On Stratford, so this is a champion school parent, another school that we haven't covered today, but we will cover in the future. This is a parent that moved from public to private in grade 2 and considered both Stratford and Challenger. This is a parent that did in-depth research on both the schools and decided to go with none of them. So the first one was Challenger, the second is Stratford. This is neither. So this one is interesting. On online Stratford, we could not find much of a difference between Stratford Online and the public school on curriculum and teaching. Overall, the shadow day was boring for my son, and we did not see the value of the money paid. Stratford does allow for a shadow day, so when you do tour, request it. and they will grant you one. But if you do, you will realize that the online curriculum, like we covered in our research, is not at the same level as their in-person curriculum. So if you do the shadow day, then take it with a grain of salt, because their online is not as good as their in-person. On the variation in Stratford branches, this parent said, there are a lot of differences between the different branches of Stratford School. They do not seem to maintain the same standards across all of the school branches. Out of the top 15 ranks in MK for these schools in 2019, majority of the ranks were from the San Francisco branch school. This is very important. Goes to show why. Once we looked into why, we realized it's because the teaching guidelines are not uniform. So the quality depends on the campus you're going to. That is why make sure you tour, especially Stratford. On the level of reading in Challenger, now this parent turned to Challenger. Once she looked at Stratford and saw that it is very varied based on the campus, she saw that in Challenger, Challenger emphasizes reading newspapers, being current news in upper elementary, and the school phonics kit is one of the best. The reading book recommendation list is also very popular. But then the same parent went on to say that this actually showcases their philosophy a lot, because if you look at Challenger, they'll have a very well-researched list of books that school should offer to the kids, but then their language curriculum won't be at the quality of, say, breaking that literature down, right? They'll say, okay, we should get into this reading habit, read these books, these many pages per day, great sense of decorum in that student, develop some good habits, but the same level of breakdown, say language analysis, won't be there. So this is a very interesting note, and this is a similar sentiment that a lot of the parents have shared. Finally, on a parent that's stuck to a top public school. Now, it's not necessary that you have to go to a private school to succeed. There are some top public schools. If you are in that district, then you should look into that as well. So this is a parent that is from an engineering background, software background from India, and said, okay, the way I want to go about this is both these schools don't match my expectation, and I'm going to bridge the gap between public and private school level of education by going to an external academy. So on Challenger versus Stratford, I was initially planning and attending their school session, but their standards are not up to my expectation. On Challenger, Challenger's intent is that they give more homework to the parents, but they will think that if you do that, they're doing a good job. But they don't understand the pace of the kids or help them if they are weak. This is very important, because both these schools, specifically Challenger, will not cater to the level of the student, right? They might to a certain extent, but overall, the pace is relatively fast for all of the students. The expectation is that, hey, you adjust to our pace, not that we are going to adjust it to what you are capable of doing, right? But on Stratford, the same parent said that, okay, they focus on multiple skills in addition to academy, like the sports, spelling bee, speaking, but that's all in paper. They don't coach, but conduct them. The kid's ability is limited to what they can do. The parent went on to say that they have explored these two private schools, not other schools, just these two. They're still looking for a good one that goes with the pace of the child, so specific to the child, and they're in that journey currently. This parent went to RSM first, and then actually is with Think Academy. So they thought, okay, instead of going to a private school that I'm not that sure of, why don't I look at these academic institutions that do excel in terms of mathematics or STEM fields, and then decided to go with Think Academy as well. So that was an interesting perspective. I thought you guys should get all of the common ones that we had. And as usual, we do have a Q&A in the end, so I would love to take your questions if you have any. Now would be the time. So